Pope Francis quotes. Pope Francis is the 266th and current Pope of the Roman Catholic Church, a title he holds ex officio as Bishop of Rome, and Sovereign of the Vatican City. Throughout his public life, Pope Francis has been noted for his humility, emphasis on God's mercy, concern for the poor, and commitment to interfaith dialogue. He is credited with having a humble, less formal approach to the papacy than his predecessors, for instance choosing to reside in the Domus Sancti Marthi guest house rather than in the papal apartments of the Apostolic Palace used by his predecessors. Here are some of his significant quotes. "The media only writes about the sinners and the scandals," he said, "but that's normal, because a tree that falls makes more noise than a forest that grows. I prefer a church which is bruised, hurting and dirty because it has been out on the streets, rather than a church which is unhealthy from being confined and from clinging to its own security. No one can grow if he does not accept his smallness." God never tires of forgiving us, we are the ones who tire of seeking His mercy. It is not progressive to try to resolve problems by eliminating a human life. The question of truth is really a question of memory, deep memory, for it deals with something prior to ourselves and can succeed in uniting us in a way that transcends our petty and limited individual consciousness. It is a question about the origin of all that is, in whose light we can glimpse the goal and thus the meaning of our common path. How can it be that it is not a news item when an elderly homeless person dies of exposure, but it is news when the stock market loses 2 points? Situations can change, people can change. Be the first to seek to bring good. Do not grow accustomed to evil, but defeat it with good. Living together is an art. It's a patient art, it's a beautiful art, it's fascinating. Even if the life of a person has been a disaster, even if it is destroyed by vices, drugs, or anything else, God is in this person's life. You must try to seek God in every human life. Although the life of a person is a land full of thorns and weeds, there is always a space in which the good seed can grow. You have to trust God. This is the struggle of every person, be free or be a slave. Once man has lost the fundamental orientation which unifies his existence, he breaks down into the multiplicity of his desires. In refusing to await the time of promise, his life story disintegrates into a myriad of unconnected instants. And hear the first word that I wish to say to you: joy. Do not be men and women of sadness. A Christian can never be sad. Never give way to discouragement. Ours is not a joy born of having many possessions, but of having encountered a person, Jesus, in our midst. I think that we succumb to attitudes that do not permit us to dialogue, domination, not knowing how to listen, annoyance in our speech, preconceived judgments and so many others. We have only one heart, and the same wretchedness which leads us to mistreat an animal will not be long in showing itself in our relationships with other people. Every act of cruelty towards any creature is contrary to human dignity. Before all else, the Gospel invites us to respond to the God of love who saves us, to see God in others and to go forth from ourselves to seek the good of others. If our hearts are closed, if our hearts are made of stone, the stones find their way into our hands and we are ready to throw them.